utterly gutting for those Bristol City players. And we'd said all, in fact, you said, didn't you, at the start of the night, the one player City can't afford to lose now was Sergio Aguero. It was that prime example of what he brings that no one else does. Raheem Sterling, a very good performance, very good footballer, but does Aguero bring something completely different to that centre-forward role?
He's a centre-forward, and hopefully he stays down the centre, doesn't he? And, you know, I think that with Sterling playing and Sane, they like to play out on the wide positions, and they needed Aguero to come on, and great credit to Bristol City, because of their performance, it forced Guardiola to bring him on.
No, I mean, what you got from Bristol City, I thought, until that moment was superhuman efforts, really, from each and every player. Firstly, Lee Johnson's tactics were excellent, and what the players produced in energy for him was fantastic.
How much more difficult is it then going to Ashton Gate, going in 2-1 down as opposed to 1 apiece?
Yeah, obviously it's a big dampener on it for Bristol City, because you know, if they took Man City to Ashton Gate at 1-1, then really game on. But you feel with the quality of Man City, they've got to score a goal at Ashton Gate. That's going to make it very, very difficult, I think, for Bristol City. But great credit with the effort they've put in there tonight. And when you work as hard as that, as Bailey Wright just said, you know, you're so tired. They switched off in the last minute. The 92nd minute, they switched off and they paid the price.
And of course it had to be Sergio Aguero.
Yeah. Well,
off the bench.
You know, I think he's had 6 or 7 years at Man City now. He's part of the furniture, top scorer they've ever had. And he's just got that clinical finisher's appetite. He wants to score goals, and he drifts into a position, but he's got that knack of ghosting in, and keeper couldn't do anything about it. Quality of the ball was so good, and the timing was perfect for Manchester City. Once
or twice through the night, Raheem Sterling had found himself in positions where he might have got a goal, but he never really looked like a centre-forward.
And no, he was filling in there because obviously Guardiola wants to rest Aguero, protect him as much as he can. You know, and tonight, I thought Sterling and Sane were still very effective in the game, particularly in the first half. They created the better chances. The chances that fell to Manchester City, and they missed quite a few. But again, you go to Bristol City, every defender was putting pressure on anyone who was taking a shot at goal. So it made them hurry that little bit. And we were saying it looks like it was going to be one of those nights for Manchester City. In the end, it wasn't. But
4 potential trophies for City to go for this season, of course. So a lot of the talk around the Etihad is, could City win all 4? Well, according to Pep Guardiola, it's not possible. Right, now let's get back to the Etihad and get more reaction. After the FA Cup tie, it's interesting that he was looking ahead to Liverpool rather than Bristol City. Yeah. You could excuse him for taking this one not lightly, but perhaps prioritising Liverpool.
I think you might have just missed a word out there, that's all. But listen, football's always been that way. It's not as if he's invented something that football people don't know. As soon as you lose your focus and do start to get believing your own press at times, then that's when you can slip up. And probably one of the great examples is Liverpool, when they got so close under Brendan Rodgers, is that they were so close to winning the league that year. You felt that they were starting to believe that they just need to take to the field and go to win games, and slipped up. I don't see that Manchester City will do that at all.
But no one's done the 4, have they? Even what United we saw do the treble. But they couldn't go on and do 4, could they? They didn't win.
It's a big ask, it really is.
Pep Guardiola, 4 draws domestically. In fact, if you look at the last 46 in all comps, the only game they've slipped up at was that Champions League tie in Russia. Oh, Ukraine, I beg your pardon. So, is there any reason why they can't go and win?
It's a fantastic record. I think the normal things that are going to apply if they're going to struggle is injuries. If they take, as we just said about Aguero, you know, Asus is out. If they lose Aguero, then are they going to go into Premier League games playing Sterling as centre forward, which is what we've been talking about, you know? Injuries, suspensions, lack of form, you know, all that comes into it over a long season. And I think also the rest of the Premier League, certainly the big boys, have got to step up to the plate. So some of them games when they play the top 4 or 5, they've got to come out on top.
We're in the transfer window as well now, and Guardiola will be looking at that subconsciously. He'll be thinking, well, we're in this position. We're not going to get this, you know, very often at all.
So the only thing that could stop them is an injury to Aguero. So is this the best time to invest?
Well, we were talking about earlier, you know, possibly it's a time to go and get Sanchez just in case, someone who can play through the middle. just to give themselves that bigger and better chance of going for those 4 trophies.
It's much better to buy when you're at the top of the table than to try and buy when you're down the bottom.
That's right.
Don't forget they spent big money on Bernardo Silva in the summer. He's been a bit part player since arriving in Manchester. He has enjoyed this competition. Do you think he would have taken the move to Manchester City if he'd known in the summer how little game time he'd get?
I think he was fully aware that he was, this season particularly, because he's a similar player to David Silva. Whether he'll ever be as good as David Silva, I'm not sure, but he's a younger guy. He's got a lot to learn yet. But I thought the timing was probably right. David Silva's getting that little bit older. But he's been on the field a lot this year. He's not started so many games. But if you look at the way that Guardiola has spread the games around in his squad, Bernard Silva has not been missing out that much. He's still been on the field 21 times or something this year. But for me, yeah, it was a good move at the right time.